that is the thing that I'm most interested in, because we've seen these two face up very recently. And Chronicler, we were talking earlier, where will Azir fall? Where will Sion fall? Where will Wukong fall for the red side team? And with HLE, we already see that mid lane going to be the target. Sion, you expect to fall alongside it, but that does mean that the Wukong that we saw banned so much in the finals is going to be let through.
Possibility here to answer what we've seen very often. Peanut in particular loves to go towards his Vi. As the Poppy ban does come through, and that does lead towards that Wukong, as you were saying, Vedi. Poppy really has been a pick that I think has high variance, but when executed well is insane. Sion is open though, so we might be seeing a trade. Sion has been, I think, the biggest story this tournament, basically moving to almost 100% ban rate, although Gen.G did let it go in their best of 3.
This also means that Ryze is up for grabs. I wonder if HLE want to try and take that pick away. Also leaning towards that Galio ban to pinch as much of Chovy's pool as possible, but if you then do go for the Ryze, things like the Cassio, looks like they're going to go for the safer choice of the Taliyah for Zeka.
Feels a little bit dangerous as well, right? Because first picking Sion can lead you to be a bit trundleable, which they have steered away from as Peanut decides to lock in an old favorite. This is something that Inspired, I believe, debuted here at Worlds, and will be playing the Sejuani alongside the Taliyah. And now Gen.G, will they be locking up the Sion themselves, or will it be something else? Because honestly, the trundle value on their side has now gone up a whole lot.
Yeah, a tier list pick would be Ryze, which you've seen picked into Taliyah a lot. Chovy loves the pick. You get to have sideline impact, and obviously once you get to your breakpoints, you can actually shove in. And then Sion as a follow-up. Now, both these top laners are very capable of counter-picking. In these drafts, I would expect Zeus to be given more freeway in that regard, as it's actually going to be the Neeko, so the Sion making it through for now.
Yeah, and I was talking about Trundle. That's not going to be picked because there are 2 jungles already locked away.
Support Trundle is still real, Atlas.
It's not. It's definitely not, and that was a whoopsie, Chronicler. We can be honest about this. I'm very, very comfortable. Okay, Zeka going to lock away the Rek'Sai, though. I'm not comfortable about that. Not at all. I know Zeus is a great player, and I feel like Rek'Sai really does kind of suit him as well, but I just don't think that Rek'Sai does it for me.
The biggest surprise is that they've just let the Sion through. The fact that not only have they decided it's not a priority, they can now look to ban it away, but we know that if Gen.G choose to go for something like a Sion, if it's open, it's just a tank v tank matchup on the top side. For Gen.G, they now have a lot of freedom to pick apart the support pool and limit what defensive options Delight can look for.
It's also calling the bluff. They're like, I don't think they're going to ban Sion now, because the Rek'Sai has been used as a counter pick very consistently. So they're just saying, we'll see what else Kiin can bring. That slots in well. Rek'Sai, I do think having at least a melee solo laner makes Sejuani's life a lot easier. I would expect Delight to go towards something melee as well, so you have plenty of opportunity to set up that passive. As now Gen.G should be getting rid of some of the safer AD carries here to ensure that your Wukong will get guaranteed value with his backline access. And really, the fact we have again that Neeko Ryze combo that we saw used with great efficiency by CFO, if I remember correctly, is something that Viper is going to have to keep in mind.
I mean, Corki right now has so much value, the extra mobility, the good scaling, the small amount of poke that you'll also provide paired alongside the Taliyah. There was that Kai'Sa that was mentioned. Just the amount of dive threat that Gen.G have, it makes a lot of sense that they want to remove that, and taking Delight Alistair away from him is fantastic engage potential. We saw him during the Swiss stage. I feel like he was one of the most consistent inconsistencies, right? The fact that he would make these insane outplays and then at the same time make very questionable plays, which brought to, I mean, it was a joy to watch just because of the entertainment value, but I can't take away from how good he is, so it makes a lot of sense they would want to ban that away. But there's that Corki that we were talking about, going to be locked in for Viper.
Yep, whole lot of power there. The Alistair ban also fantastic to protect the Neeko, just because you can look a little bit silly pop blossoming over in a corner if you get headbutted, so it can be a little bit unfortunate there as we have a bit of a Trinity force off towards the bottom side of the map. Some build evening out here as Ruler does lock away the Ezreal. He's liked this into the Corki quite a lot as, okay, Kiin. This is fantastic because it's not only a decent matchup into a tank as, okay, wait.
Pantheon support.
It has to be, right?
Yes.
Oh my god, Pantheon Sejuani is insane because you can use the Empower W to immediately proc the Permafrost with the extra autos. That's something we haven't seen for the longest time though, but clearly a prepared response. There's also the fact that Kiin picked away one of Zeus' most iconic champions because the Aatrox has actually been obviously a comfort pick for Zeus since 2023, while also being one of the other prime Sion counters.
It's also like the easiest setup for all of these skill shots, right? Like the Seismic Shove and the Glacial Prison are difficult to hit at times. It will not be when you've got Rek'Sai and Pantheon setting up. We've been talking about Pantheon Taliyah since 2019.
And there seems to be something that HLE came in with a plan in mind, because the early priority on the Sejuani, with the saving the Pantheon until the very end, I imagine they were expecting the Neeko to come through as well. We often see when teams have the opportunity to play on a single patch, they start to find creative ways to deal with very prevalent meta picks. Let's see how effective this is, the Sejuani Pantheon combo, and how much it can deal with this Neeko.
This is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch because it does also lead you to think about what's been happening in scrims in regards to the Sion as well. Both of these teams foregoing this champion entirely. Obviously, there's something that's creeping in that's been able to take care of it. Will we see that develop as the series goes on? But ladies and gentlemen, it is time to get onto the Rift for game number 1 of our first match of knockouts here at Worlds 2025. Gen.G taking on HLE as we do a bit of a rematch of the LCK Finals.
And gentlemen, you were talking to me about how much HLE were the prepared team in the LCK playoffs. The fact that they came out swinging from what was a difficult regular season was because it felt like that their draft prep was so calculated, and this just feels like another demonstration of their preparation coming into this quarterfinals.
It really does. It also, for me, is reminiscent that even in Fearless, if we think back, so many big meta shifts have happened over the course of the last World Championship, going from Swiss into knockouts, as we do have some vision being secured here. One other thing I do want to highlight with the Hanwha composition specifically, which we always need to talk about when it's Taliyah and Pantheon specifically, even though Delight is obviously not going to be nearly as strong, he will still be freed up by the virtue of being a support. And Gen.G love to play with their side lanes, right? They're one of the best teams at being able to just always get advantages when you contest elsewhere on the map. It's going to be a lot harder against 2 of these semi-globals.
And you can also move Rek'Sai around a lot as the enemy team if you do get ulted as well. So the ability to follow up from a great distance is going to be relatively handy if Zeus finds himself in an uncomfortable position. But this does feel like the conventional against the chefs. And we'll just have to see whether Dandy's cooking alongside Mogler backstage is actually going to be helping out HLE, or whether it's going to be a little bit of a problem. Because, I mean, we've seen this comp out of Gen.G so many times. I think the biggest thing that's a bit strange is maybe Aatrox for Kiin as his first choice in the match. Like, that's it.
Yeah, that really does feel like we are both seeing... We know Kiin can play Aatrox, but it's not one of his necessarily preferred champions in the current meta or recently. So because Gen.G doesn't really play towards the top side as much as many of our other teams. But it is, in my mind, a dead giveaway that they're just looking to pick away, right? And I think even though the Corki is really good in this spot, even that kind of feels like the setup was obvious, but not giving Ruler Corki can also only be praised because he's been absolutely devastating on this champion.
Track of what the junglers are up to. It seems that both have set their sights towards the bot side of the map, and why wouldn't you? Top lane, not going to be as volatile. Mid lane has some potential, but bot lane right now with these supports seems like the easiest opportunity to look for a play. The wave state is actually very safe for both Ruler and Duro. The tower is not quite within tower diving range, and they don't have enough of a minion wave to really threaten that, which means that right now I think the primary focus for Peanut is to cover for his bottom lane, and also to contest this bot crab, as right now HLE should have the prio to do.
Well, we'll see whether that is exactly what is going to happen. Some herbivorous tendencies for our boy Canyon in the jungle, so certainly not expecting too much, especially on a Wukong who does like hitting that level 6. But Peanut has had a lot of plans in early games, and oftentimes, if Peanut looks like he's moving somewhere deliberately, then that is where the positive things can start happening here for HLE, as we do have Canyon moving towards that top side, but Peanut wrapping around for a potential opportunity onto Chovy. Seismic Shove does go wide, so it's not going to be too much of a worry.
Chovy trusting his movement there. if he gets knocked up and Peanut can follow up, he might be in some trouble. At very least, would have been forced to flash, but not going to be the case.
Yeah, a little bit of a scuffle here towards the bottom side of the map as Viper down to 100 health. Ruler standing his ground. Will be able to push Taliyah away as his support's backing, but he's looking for first blood. It's not going to happen. But still, I think Ruler has sent the message.
That's a lot of summoner spells used between the supports. Ruler, though, with the health advantage, pushes the HLE bot lane away. He's going to be able to push this wave underneath the tower. Keeping my eyes on the minimap, and I notice, but you can see the Pantheon already heading towards that top side of the map. Viper's going to be left alone very early in this game, as it feels like Delight and Peanut are going to go on some adventures together.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see, because with the base timing, Gen.G could opt into a swap here, and it does look like that is going to be the case here. And again, to remind everyone, the way that the Pantheon W works, when he has the 5 stacks, if he does jump onto someone, the free autos you do afterwards immediately proc permadeath, so Kiin needs to be careful.
Yeah, let's see whether he's going to survive. This is 3 versus 1. I don't think he's looking too hot in this one, and down will Kiin go. First blood over to the Rek'Sai, and Zeus is on the board.
A clean gank from HLE with very little time wasted. The fact that Delight was already forced back to base, he immediately moves towards the top side with Peanut. There's that synergy that we were talking about. Pantheon didn't even need to use it because both the Rek'Sai and the Sejuani applied the passive together. Now Delight in position on the top side of the map as Viper makes his way up to also catch this wave.
Wait, are they just going to go for it again?
I have a little timing window. Zeus still has CP, so he can just catch the wave, and I think that if someone walked in, they could have gone for a play, but now Zeus needs to catch that bot wave, so should be making his way over.
Yep, they do spot that Zeus is going back home, but unable to interrupt it for now as Viper and Delight back in a 2v2 once again. And it looks like, yeah, we are going to see the teleport out from Zeus. Thought for a second that he was going to try and waddle his way down there, but not going to be the case as Peanut is seen on vision.
I think Peanut actually got his wolf stolen there based on Canyon getting the camp lead and Peanut flailing air. Not going to find anything there. But again, with the power of this Sejuani, as long as either Pantheon or Rek'Sai is there, they have so much CC and offensive kill threat to try and make a play. And Kiin already falling behind on the Aatrox, and we all know Zeus can be a legitimate win condition, even though this Rek'Sai has been a bit of an up and down pick. Can be very oppressive, as we have seen in the right hands.
Yeah, obviously, Chovy is highest in levels. The guy is pretty good at sticking around for waves, but right now in the river, looking to see whether him and Canyon can get any work done. More scuffling here towards the top side as this time Viper getting the upper hand. Kiin and Zeus fighting once more, but I don't expect too much to occur in the 1v1. As Chovy is just going to be bodyguarding Canyon.
Pain 6.
Yeah, doesn't let Peanut do too much. Nimbus Strike goes in. Peanut unable to really respond, but he's still relatively tanky with that giant spell.
Has his prio in mid, roaming up towards top.
Weave as well comes out immediately, and they're looking to hold them in position. Duro gets into the shape splitter, but there's a seismic shove. Viper picks it up, and it's 2-0 for HLE.
Chovy being spotted on that bot crab, not able to match the roam. Really nicely done there by Zeka to make use of that timing window. And that is now 2 kills going over to Hanwha, as both Viper and Zeus being set up for success here.
I mean, they're utilizing this Pantheon incredibly well. They're trying to play around it as much as possible. When that level 6 comes through for Delight is when Gen.G really need to be worried, because then that global presence that you talked about earlier is going to come through. Let's look back at the play.
As we take another look here, at first it looks like maybe they invest in the clone, but no, Delight hits true, finds a W on the right member, and as Atlas was saying, that Taliyah Pantheon combo we saw as a bot lane for that exact reason. As a mid-jungle duo, and now as the longest time, yep.
And it was Chovy's team that did it, and it was when he was with Viper, and now Viper's doing it against him. It's like his own tactics are being used on the other side of the rift. Feels probably a little bit unfair, or he doesn't really care about it because it was so long ago. And as we saw in the opening video, Chovy just cares about winning. So let's see whether they can actually start doing that, because so far they're down about 1,000 gold. HLE trying to get some grubs here, as it is going to be first one taken away by Peanut. Standing in the back of the pit, wondering whether they want to fight for this or not, as you've got Zeka rotating over the flash forward from Delight. He gets the stun, the seismic shove on her too, as Zeka is put in the prison, but he does not care about it. Canyon trying to get himself out of there as Viper's still at full health, and Ruler finally will show up as we're going to fight towards the bottom side at the same time. This last crab should belong to HLE. As you can see, Ruler getting himself out of there, and in the meantime, this battle's still happening here on the bottom side. Kiin and Zeus just utilizing all of that region and their kit to be okay. That's a What? The arcade shift? That was insanity here from Duro as his clone goes down, but he survives.
A lot happening there. So it starts off again. Great usage of the Pantheon. This is actually a pretty tricky composition for Sejuani to find a mark, because there's double clones, both of which can block our ultimate. But thanks to the target selection, they're almost able to take down Canyon, but they do use a lot of resources, which opens up the play for Gen.G afterwards.
And I mean, what a play it was. The fact that Canyon was able to get away to safety, then Gen.G converted into a kill on the top side of the map. That gold advantage that HLE had started to build is quickly disappearing, and that's how quickly players like Chovy can take control of the game.
And it's important to note, Viper flashed for the kill as well onto Canyon. Didn't actually find him, so he's down flash. As far as AD carries go, Corki is obviously one of the safer ones thanks to his Valkyrie, but that could still be an opportunity window for someone like Canyon if he can find a flank.
Well, let's see what happens, because it looks like HLE are angling for a bit of a dragon. That should be taken here, as no one on Gen.G is anywhere really near this area. That one likely to go their way. And this should also be some beats well and truly on the way for HLE. One more kill, one more objective, and they will be able to upgrade their shoes. And that is going to be coming in right now. So we'll be looking at that one to see whether HLE can get those upgrades. Gen.G, of course, feeling pretty good as far as the scaling is concerned, but I feel like the HLE composition has worked thus far, and we'll see whether they can get it together as we move further on and close this one out.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes are on Chovy right now. He's where a lot of the gold lead is for Gen.G, and now he's moving off to a side lane. You guys mentioned earlier, Gen.G is a team that loves to play through their sides, and now that the Pantheon has that level 6, we'll see how well HLE can punish the side lanes. Chovy should be an easy target for them to collapse on. Peanut is hovering around the top side of the map though, but Canyon is here to cover as well. Looks like he's feeling pretty safe about his top laner's position, given that he's going to go back to base.
Ooh, and there is Delight making his way over, but with all that vision, I think Kiin should be fine. Delight's range not quite that big, and Gen.G seemingly thinking that, okay, we're waiting for particularly the one-item spikes, right? Triforce, double Triforce is such an insane power spike, so I think contesting the dragon, or not contesting the dragon, rather, does make a ton of sense. When it comes to the actual scaling in the game, I think it's actually interesting in that it is so hard to play side lanes later on. The Realm Warp, not going to find the mark.
Will be answered by another R button, so we go R for R towards the bottom side, as here in the top lane, the Infernal Chains connect, and Zeus going to have to just tunnel his way up.
It's fine.
You're seeing that the Aatrox can win out on these skirmishes though, and it's much harder for the Rek'Sai to really trade back, especially given that Rek'Sai, very short range, needs to be in the face of the Aatrox. That makes it much easier to utilize the 3 procs of your Q. Meanwhile, Delight making sure that Zeka has a bodyguard. We talked so much about those side lanes, and look at the positioning of Peanut in the river as well. On the bot side, clearing out that vision, providing Zeka with the safety that he very much needs. The problem is, he is down a level, and that Rod of Ages isn't even completed for Chovy yet. The man is already getting quite the lead here in Game 1.
Yeah, ahead by a couple of waves as well. But you can see that they were listening to you, Betty. You know, they were saying, yes, I think Chovy is going to be a problem, so they try and overload his side of the map, but playing a little bit too carefully, as we could see. But man, this is exactly what we wanted out of this game number 1. Things extremely close here at 12.5 minutes.
What's interesting to me is, throughout the LCK, I know you guys talked a lot domestically about how Zeka wasn't quite the player that you expected him to be, and part of the reason why they struggled in the latter half of the year. But coming into this tournament, I felt like Zeka really has stepped up in terms of what you very much expected from him, and we've already seen that in his most recent series where it felt like he already popped off against CFO.
And even though he's behind in gold, I do think the play towards topside was very nicely done. Good punish of a window of opportunity. And yeah, Zeka really has kind of had the full arc where at first it was just melees, then he was just good for a large amount of time, and then this year, since Road to MSI specifically, we seem to struggle a little bit, but I agree with you, Veddy. It does feel like he's bouncing back, but you do need a pretty substantial bounce back to keep up in gold when it comes to Chovy, who does now finish his Rod of Ages. Triforce isn't quite done for Canyon yet, though, and I do think they're going to be looking towards that. We have 2 timers basically on the same time for both Herald and the second Dragon, so we'll see what the teams are going to prioritize there, because thus far, it's been a pretty even early game, even though the kills initially favored Hanwha, currently sitting at basically even in gold.
Yep, and I feel like the Chovy factor is coming into play there, as you can see about 700 in the lead. Zeus trying to tunnel his way out of this one as Kiin, even though they did try and keep him down, he's kind of said no. and will still just be winning in this 1v1 at this point in time. Sundered Sky, a heck of an item, but does... You know, there are completed items on both sides of the matchup. Now with some steel caps also completed for Zeus, maybe he'll be feeling a little bit better.
There's also, if there's a guy on Gen.G one to be behind, it's Kiin. Because he is the one that is always able to have an impact, no matter the game state. We've seen this man bounce back.
You're remembering that Gwen game, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's the Gwen game. There is the amount of lane swaps this man has played. And
I mean, Kiin, I really think, has had a phenomenal year. He feels like such a complete player as a top
really
laner.
Is.
And, you know, often people categorize top laners into certain roles, whether they be bruisers, tanks, or, you know, carries. And it feels like the Kiin just has the plethora of options available to him, even if he's very well known for things like his Kiin Sante, for example. And I think this is a great demonstration that Sundered Sky is such a powerful item on the Aatrox, and we've already been seeing him win out on these skirmishes, but it's these fights that we are getting very close to. Whenever you get these LCK matchups, watching the setups around these neutral objectives is probably the most important part, because the fight itself, it's usually the setup to the fight where we see a lot of the action kick off.
Yeah, the most important thing is the dragon timer. That's when you know when things are going to happen.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm
kind of
looking out for
throwing
here.
Me for a loop there, Atlas. And I want to highlight what you said, Vedi. When it comes to setup, Gen.G, ideally, I think, want to just be together, not get picked off. And if they can get a 5-5 with Wukong and Neeko, I think they're in a good spot. I don't think they're going to get that, though.
Yeah, Zeus making his way right into the back of the pit here as Shelly down to about 2/3 health. Gen.G don't find too much joy with the True Shot Barrage, and it's a lot of jockeying for position. Delight in a good one of those, as we can see. But he flashes for it. He knew that they were coming as Canyon gets himself out of there. Glacial Prison not quite getting too much done here as Zeus is going to have to tunnel his way out. Shelly had reset, but it looks like Gen.G have claimed control of the area.
And there you see the trigger pull doesn't work, and Hanwha Life need to either let this go or look for a re-engage.
Well, let's see what they can actually make work here as Zeka goes in, puts the wall down, gets out of there pretty quickly, as we do have the Rift Herald going over to Gen.G, and now they're looking for Zeka in the back of the pit. He didn't want to use the flashes. Now Canyon could be in a bit of trouble. Viper flashes away, but it's Zeka that's in trouble. Kiin gets his revenge as he takes down 2. This Aatrox just bursts to life at 16 minutes into the game, and Gen.G, I don't think they really cared about this whole Pantheon support thing.
Gen.G waste no time. It was a scary start to the fight as Canyon became the target. But with that Sejuani ultimate gone, Gen.G take full control of the space. HLE seem uncoordinated in how they want to approach as Zeka is locked in the pit. Canyon flashes over to follow him, knowing that Kiin is right by his side. The Aatrox takes out Zeka, and with the front line of Kiin, it becomes an easy cleanup for Gen.G.
And Zeus basically isn't in the fight because it's such a scattered approach. And I think you could see at the start of the fight the hesitation for Hanwha Life, because again, I think their comp stands or falls by the first second of the fight. They used their tools onto Canyon. He did not go down, but they still tried to contest the objective, and they had to pay for it with a 2k gold deficit.
And now it's a Hextech Dragon as well, and they were unable to keep stacking the Drakes. It could have been such a big deal for HLE to have that win condition, but it's going to be all evened out here by Gen.G, who utilize that extra pressure.
For people that maybe just watch and follow during the international competitions, it's sometimes hard to always understand why teams are considered so good. And that fight was a great demonstration of Gen.G's patience and execution. The fact that they happily conceded, as, hang on, HLE are looking for a counterplay of their own as they set the sights on the Kiin. I don't think this is an easy dive.
Yeah, this Sundered Sky item is pretty good, as we do see everyone making their way down. Diving in Aatrox has been hard, but with all of your friends, you can take him down.
Okay, you got Aatrox. Look at top lane, though.
No, don't look at top lane.
Look at mid lane.
Don't look at top lane.
No, I think they should.
Yeah, no, you're right. The play was, you know, they did manage to do what they wanted to do. Unfortunately, the fallout is kind of insane, as this is an inner turret falling down, and the outer in the mid lane as well, which some would argue is even more important, as now Canyon has found Delight. Lots of damage as the double cyclone does come on in, and Ruler is there to back up the Monkey. Canyon being really active here in this mid-game.
Actually, nicely done there by Canyon. They will get the Hanwha Life with that play being extended towards top, get a inner turret themselves, which means that gold still ends up basically the same place where it begun at the whole start of the play. But mid lane turret is such a crucial objective as Ruler.
In the ruler spot here, in the mid lane, will get knocked off. There's the permafrost, and that is the chain CC that we were talking about. They pick up their prize, and HLE, I think as long as they have a target in mind, they will kill it.
When it comes to single targets, Hanwha Life's comp does its job, as I have not seen Ruler die in the ruler spot for a very long time. They misread the response from Hanwha, thinking that they would, I think, all base after getting that inner, but instead they rotate and get a really nice kill and try and work, slowly chip away at that gold deficit.
Well, the map has opened up a lot more now. The Dragon is 2.5 minutes away, but the Aatrox is 40 seconds away. And I feel like at this World Championship, given that we've had so much more time to play with the Aatrox, teams are a lot more confident to start that objective, often to their own demise. And I feel like that is also true for the LCK teams, and I'm excited to see this Aatrox setup, as the fog of war is dark and scary, and HLE have to respect it.
Yeah, and there's a lot more of it now with all of these structures hitting the ground. As Zeus, look at Chovy here, but he just walks his way out. There's the ulti to start this one up, but the ult from Peanut is not going to put Chovy in prison. He will get pushed out of the way as there's the Black 4, they get the knock-up, there's the permafrost, and I guess you don't need to hit your R button if you've got a whole bunch of others.
And Chovy was confident in the 1v2, but there was 4 people there! So that might just be Aatrox.
Quite frankly, Chovy was just flat out disrespectful. He was staring down the face of 2. He tried to go back for a trade, and he didn't respect Peanut's initiation range. It opens up the Aatrox, and this gold lead that Gen.G had built is slowly whittling away.
Not to mention the fact that HLE can now catch up in petals, because they were getting destroyed on that front as well. So that number will be able to even out as this game goes on. And that advantage that Gen.G had will be taken away. The Aatrox is a big deal.
And I was expecting it to be like a Zeka ult or Delight. No, they just walked into his lane and killed him. That wasn't him overextending into the globals, where sometimes you can miss. He just walked up, got taken down, and a nice kill, meaning that now Hanwha Life, with those petals, feeling a lot better in the game. Back to basically being dead even.
Now, gentlemen, having had the pleasure of listening to you both throughout the year, I have heard once or twice you misbrand this organization as Viper Life Esports.
Yes.
And as I look at the scoreboard at the bottom of my screen, I do see said Viper with a 1.3k gold lead.
Yes, Viper has been by far the most consistent player on this team. Sometimes it's not him that's carrying, but most of the time, Viper is doing well. And towards the end of the season, he was doing very well, while there was some otherwise negative connotations around the rest of the team.
Some subpar gaming.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
I was trying to tiptoe around it, but I don't think I did a very good job. This guy's just been fantastic, but this year, I feel like Ruler has something to say about it.
I mean, he absolutely does. Both AD carries, I think, have been performing extremely well. They've also been performing extremely well at this Worlds. And as we get closer to the Dragon in 10 seconds' time, our eyes will be on these AD carries, their positioning, and their ability to dish out the damage. Looking at Delight, he is spotted out on that ward. Good ward there by Gen.G. Right now, Zeus is pushing through the top side of the map as Gen.G have position on the Dragon. It's quite dark for the side of HLE as they look to approach, but there's the TP.
Yeah. Neeko's searching out, but you can see Zeus looking to get on top of Chovy one more time. This Dragon down to about 4.5k as Peanut goes in, finds the Glacial Prison. This time, but the Boss Blossom is too good! As Duro will be able to even get the kill on his opposite number. HLE falling down left and right, and it's Kiin once again on an onslaught, and Viper Life Esports, he will be the last one to go down, and it's a triple for Ruler.
I'm normally not one for premonitions, but that felt very, very apt, as it's Viper standing alone. The Dragon goes to Hanwha, but the 5v5 teamfight win goes again. And look this, Canyon blocks the ultimate. They were trying to set up on Chovy. Peanut tried to glide past, follow up on the knockup of Zeus, but instead this Ryze gets to keep doing his damage. And Kiin deals with the backline.
It felt like such a heavy commitment onto Chovy. The game plan from HLE was just, we have to take this Ryze out of the fight, and by funneling into the Dragon, they made it so much easier for Gen.G's AoE to do damage to the entire lineup of HLE, with Viper isolated by his own teammate's wall.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that we get the coach cam afterwards as well, and Helper being so expressive. And we're lucky we have that because Coach Kim isn't.
Oh my goodness.
So we get a lot of that information as, yeah, Viper being able to pick up a couple of kills in that last fight ultimately wasn't enough. And yeah, the numbers are just a little bit higher across the board on Gen.G's side, as Kiin is starting to get more and more ridiculous in this game. He's found Peanut, infernally chained him, but Peanut is relatively tanky. HLE not out of it just yet. As you can see, it's about a 2,000 gold lead. That is not end of the world, but it might be the end of Zeus here towards his top side. Tremorsense spots out Duro. He knows that he just has to get out of there, as he'll use that tunnel network to make it to safety.
Gen.G have pretty much abandoned the bot wave, and they're going to now send Kiin to go and catch it as they look to get control over the top side of the map. The Scuttle Crab will be secured, and the Baron spawns in about 45 seconds. We don't really expect Gen.G to immediately start this objective, but it is putting pressure on HLE. The threat, the risk of this Baron being started is going to force them into these uncomfortable positions where Gen.G could maybe look for picks or opportunities to punish HLE.
I want to also highlight some of the itemization. We actually have Viper going for an early Serpent's Fang, which I do think is an item that can get a crazy amount of value. In this case, see, I think the Starek shield and the shield from the Seraphs are the ones that my eyes go towards. There's also the Oblivion Orb here for Zeka, which, come on now, he's playing into double Sundered Sky, and there's an Aatrox on the enemy team, so that one's a no-brainer.
Prison goes down, but the Cyclone hits 3! The wall comes in from Zeka, but is he too late? As Peanut is just getting himself the heck out of there. You can see Zeus, he's getting very low, and now Kiin is looming on HLE, but they hold them at bay. HLE, they have to get out, but at least all of them managed to.
I mean, good retreat from HLE. Gen.G shouldn't be able to convert this into much outside of a little bit more vision. They have control over the entirety of the river. You can see on the minimap that just HLE have very little control and very little information.
And when you're playing a composition that plays off of picks, yeah, you have to set up traps. I think you just have to send it and force them to respond, force them to walk in. With the Hex Gates, the rotation can be quick. Chovy!
Oh, Peanut reacted instantly, but it wasn't quite enough. Chovy makes it home. But now they know where he is, as they do manage to clear out some vision around this Baron area, but it looks like HLE not going to be pulling the trigger just yet. I thought that they were going to go for a sneaky one, as they are indeed. Duro moving in, pretending to be ruler, as we can see, as they get full vision of this Baron. It's going down pretty quickly, as Zeka will make his way over. Teleport in from Kiin as well. Let's see whether they can take this Baron, because this could be a difficult team fight. True Shot Barrage goes through Peanut, locks down the Baron. Delight is so incredibly low, but he had the shield for so long. They get rid of him, but can HLE keep themselves alive? Viper cannot, and Gen.G will get the punish, but they keep the Barons on the map.
HLE, at the very least, get away with 3 Barons. It does cost them Viper's life. It allows Gen.G to get a little bit more gold, but HLE have denied a very important win condition away from Gen.G.
Might also allow them to set up for a Hextech Soul Point as we take another look. It's just a straight up flip. I thought that they were going to play for vision, maybe back off once Kiin TPs, but no. It goes down to, I think, 668 there. Peanut finds the smite, but if Gen.G again actually gets their 5v5 where Duro and Canyon can layer their ults and CC, you're just not going to have a great time, and I think Hanwha Life also knew that trying to just disengage. Can they play as Zeus is here? I think they wanted to play for the waves. He is Rek'Sai, so should be fine.
Yeah, not going to be able to get the crab though, which is exactly what he wanted to do. Peanut looking for this blue buff, but Canyon looming with Duro alongside.
Also, we know the history when it comes to smite fights between Peanut and Canyon, and it feels like that Peanut is once again getting the better of his jungle counterpart, as the blue buff will be secured. That's going to be shared across the entire team. Dragon now alive. HLE can use this Baron to help them get prio over mid lane. The TP is going to come through from Zeus as well. Gen.G, though, in position on the river, as Canyon hyper-aggressively tries to push Peanut out.
Not going to quite work out here, as he's not doing all that much damage, but Hex Gates going to be able to get the monkey behind this dragon pit.
The position is so awkward. Bot wave is being pushed in favor of Gen.G. All of the vision is being denied. HLE are trying to find any purchase or any avenue into this river right now.
Utilizing the Tremor Sense quite effectively here as Zeus goes underground, senses what's going on. They clear out the way, but it looks like the dragon is going to be started. Zeka gets himself over. Let's see whether Peanut can do it again. The Pop Blossom comes through, lands on top 4, and Taliyah once again goes down instantly. It's a trade of supports as now Ruler is free hitting the Realm Walk just to zone Zeka away. They do manage to get 2 though, and there is the root. They get the knock up. Chovy goes down. Ruler is still standing though, and it's a triple for Viper. He wants to pick up that quadra kill, but mainly they're just happy they won the fight. Zeka gets back in, and with a full health bar, I think they should be able to get rid of Ruler here, or at least push him away.
And the last time, Hanwha Life get the objective, pay dearly. This time, Gen.G get the objective. but they pay dearly as still 30 seconds. This mid lane turret about to fall.
This time round, HLE didn't commit everything into trying to force the fight. Their positioning, playing the front to back, worked much more favorably for them, but they're spending a lot of time on the map. The respawns are coming through. They need to get back to base.
When is Ruler going to feel fear?
This man fears very little, hence the ruler spot for existing.
Very true.
He's going to push out this mid wave. And here we go, the replay. So again, look at the positioning this time around. The Zeka ultimate now with the rest of his team. Zeus goes in first, and the ulti, while it does connect onto 4, Viper is left untouched. It ends up being a trade of support, but look how much damage Chovy takes off the beginning of the fight. He's forced back, he uses the run wall, realizes that his front line just disappears, and once he flashes in, it sets up for Zeus to land a beautiful 2-man knocker.
And Zeus, for me, so many highlight moments in that fight. The start, him getting a double knockup meant that Aatrox can be such a nuisance in the fight if you have to use your cooldowns on other members, but he actually went down to like 30 HP, so he didn't get to play the big drain tank, as we're still going!
Yeah, Peanut going in, looking for more power. Once again, it's 4! True shot barrage there as they try and keep Ruler out of the fight, but now he's in there. Zeus at full health though, as Peanut going down so incredibly low, and Viper getting so much damage in the fight. Kiin finds the angle, but Peanut has the Winter's Wrath, and now it's Zeus going down, Viper at 100, and Ruler will not be stopped. Looking for it, he flashes forward, and it's a double for the Ezreal, as once again he's left standing.
It's a bloodbath in the LCK Finals rematch. We've got 30 kills in 30 minutes as it ends up being a 3-for-3. No objective will be converted, but what a statement from both teams.
And both teams know in a best of 5, getting that game 1 win is such a big deal. They always talk about it in every interview as Peanut starts it off. It's on to Ruler, but this turn from Duro, I want you to look at how close the health bars are, because if Kiin starts resetting earlier, if the light doesn't live there, this could have been a completely different fight, but instead, it takes a while. Zeus again is unmovable in the front line. And what a bunch of crazy team fights!
I mean, another flick onto Chovy as well. Zeka has hit so many in the middle of team fights.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, it felt like the Chovy was in the bounce house that fight, because knockouts from Zeka, knockouts from Zeus. He was doing his best to dish out what damage he could. The wall from Zeka as well was so impactful, making it difficult for Chovy and for Canyon to get involved in the fight. But the amount of time that Duro's ultimate bought was so significant to allow for Gen.G to fight back. Ruler, 5, 1, and 6. He's only died once, which is when he got caught in the mid lane. His positioning in these fights has been so important to the success of Gen.G's team fighting. But it feels like it's hard to say who has a clear advantage in this game. The Dragons are even. Baron spawning in 30 seconds. You have to imagine that once that next objective falls, that will be the thing that gives a team a clear advantage.
And it was, I think, the only thing that we didn't get from HLE so far here at Worlds was the quintessential Viper's gonna do it game. And 8-4-4, this guy has been the linchpin for this team. I think if they're going to do it, it's going to be with him, as Chovy just walks his way out of there.
Oh, and if he dies there, that's a free Baron. Hanwha Life might still try to make a play for it, but they know teleport comes in from Kiin.
Yeah, vision absolutely everywhere here for Gen.G as Duro makes his presence known. Kiin spotted with the tremor senses. Canyon tries to get in there, but he just blast cones his way out. Kiin has also found the knockup onto Zeus. It could have been the mistake as he throws down the ulti. They look for a bit more, but it's Ruler that's dominating. And now it's a 4v5 in Gen.G's favor, and they're looking for a Baron themselves. HLE, they do not want to let this go, but I think they might even have to as Canyon goes in, seismic shove. Not going to quite find it as Duro finds another Pop Blossom onto everyone that was left, and then it's mopped up by the Aatrox.
The Wombo combo is beautiful from Gen.G as they hunt down the retreating HLE members. Canyon, the smite of the team, doesn't even care about being in the Baron pit. That wasn't their objective. They wanted to win the fight, and they want to win game 1.
And it's the fact that the turn on Canyon doesn't work out. That blast cone saves his life. Zeus, as a result, is in an awkward spot because they don't trade 1-for-1. The entirety of Hanwha was trying to take down the top laner, and it doesn't end up working, and now Hanwha Live, just like that, that might be game 1!
Yep, Peanut's back was stopped this entire time. Nexus turrets now lie in ruins as this. He's trying to protect it, but it does not work. First Nexus is claimed by Gen.G.